gentlemen of the jury, we back with another fantastic reaction video. Hope you guys are having a happy holidays. I know I am, especially with the chat right now because we're about to watch another video by Heishikeki. Last time we watched a video from this channel, it was about Pokemon characters, Aphmau characters as Pokemon trainers. That one was pretty interesting to see, and it looks like Heishi was motivated to do another one. So, you're welcome, by the way. I'm pretty sure that's my fault, Anyways, this one is called What If Aphmau Characters Were in Genshin Impact. Now, what the heck? Because I play Genshin, I used to play a lot of Genshin Impact. I kind of occasionally jump in every once in the blue moon. I'm probably have to go in there when Columbina comes out. But, I am very interested to see how your interpretations are. Heishi, all right, let's see what's going on here, buddy. All I expect, by the way, since you knew I was going to watch this, there's no way you didn't know I was going to react to this video. All right, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what you wanted, right? That's why I'm here. When the people call, I respond. Anyways, Rise better be in this video. That's all I'm saying. Rise better be in this video. Rise better be the, like, who is Rise gonna be, like Ayato or something? Like, comment, subscribe to the bell for notifications so YouTube and Twitch senpai can finally notice me. By watching as long as you can, you greatly benefit the channel and support the algorithm bringing people over here and stuff. I'm a little sick, by the way, so I'm not really on my A game right now, so, just don't try to ignore that. Anyways, let's get right into the video.
Hello everyone, it is your favorite man-made disaster, Keki here, and I've been pondering on how to spend my time after finishing Art Fight this year. I thought about maybe attempting Inktober again this year, but I never seem to have a good track record for keeping up with those kinds of things. So, I figured, why not start something that's going to be even harder and take twice as long?
Hey, Shisan. I just saw your eye. I just recognized your eyes. Are you from Conria or something? Is that what's going on here? Is that what's going on? You from Conria? Really?
If you've been here for a while, you'll probably remember my What If One Piece characters were in Genshin Impact video. So now we're rolling back the clock and doing it once more, this time for Aphmau. I've only done 10 characters this time since I started these designs almost 2 full calendar months ago. Maybe more, depending on when this video releases.
Wait. Well, I started on the 16th of September. Only 10? I will downvote this video if Rise is not in it. Do not test me.
I also want to give a massive shout out to my Twitter mutuals Mochi and Solus, 2 artists who have helped so much with this video, and honestly, doing it without their feedback sounds like an absolute nightmare. So please go and check out both of their stuff.
Oh, you guys, okay, you brought the team.
Now that everything's said and done, let's get right into our first character.
Yeah, I saw part 2 of the Pokemon one. Yeah. Aphmau!
As logic dictates, we're starting with our titular main character, Aphmau. Before this project, I really wanted to plan out the regions these characters would be from, their backstories, their visions, and their weapons. I figured these characters would be replacing the canon Genshin characters since there was so much I wanted to change in the Traveler story to help fit the Aphmau narrative. So, Aphmau is going to be one of our travelers in the story.
Makes sense.
I wanted her path to mimic the original story of Irene so that she's still connected to that heritage in this AU. I'll start by saying that the Divine Warriors from Diaries will be our version of the 7 Archons. Now,
makes sense.
I know that there are only 6 Divine Warriors, so I've decided to make up a little lore on my own and say that the 7th Archon, the one that equates to the Saritsa, will be more like Natlan's Archon. We'll get to that later when we go over our Natlanese characters, so let's move on. In this specific illustration, I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep her just one element, but I feel like switching elements is too instrumental of a game mechanic for the Traveler, so I just had to include it. Although I will say it doesn't start out that way. In the same manner you unlock a new element with the Traveler each time you resonate with the Statue of the 7, Aphmau will eventually take on those same elemental characteristics.
Pause real quick. So, I guess it makes sense that Aphmau is the Traveler. Okay. Sure. It's the main character. We follow her everywhere. Sure. Cool. I want to see what the color scheme is because it's starting to look like exactly like Lumine in a sense, but also a little bit of amber, if you guys understand what I'm talking about here. So let's see what's going on here with the rest of the design. I do like the first one she was going with. I wasn't sure where that was going, but I really liked it. Oh, does that mean she also gonna do splash art, like a Genshin style? I don't know.
I wanted to start her off with a Hydro Vision and place her in the very first region of the game, Mondstadt. In this story, Aphmau was born and raised in Mondstadt, never knowing or suspecting that she was different from other people around her. While growing up, she always dreamed of adventure, traveling the world with...
is it just me, or is the art getting even... maybe it's a while, like, this art's looking very clean. Like, very, very clean right now.
Nothing holding her back. She would join the Knights of Favonius as soon as she could.
I knew it! That's why it looked like Amber. That's why I was getting me Amber vibes. Because you're copying Knights of Favonius garb. Okay.
Wanting to help people who were in need until she was ready to set out on a journey of her own.
She has the scarf.
It wasn't until a mission to the Church of the Matron Irene in the city where she'd be recognized by a prophet as a vessel for Irene's power. Her life would become way too hectic to bear until she left a statement of freedom at the church and embarked on her journey in the middle of the night. I feel like her journey through to that would involve her learning about the cultures and histories of the different nations, while
looking like Raiden Shogun a little
why
bit.
She, of all people, held the power of Irene inside her. And that's what I have for the base story so far. As for her design...
Okay.
Okay. Listen.
Okay, I can already tell this guy about to get crazy because I'm looking at you design all this stuff, and it went from like Mondstadt, it went to like Lumine's design to like a mix between the Lumine design and Amber's design because you want to like get that Knights of Favonius aesthetic. Then it looked like it was the Raiden Shogun for a hot second. Oh man, you must have had a nightmare with this one.
I've done this before. Same amount of characters, same design conventions, same lore. I thought this would be easy. But by God's holy light, was this an absolute nightmare to
God's
figure
holy
out.
light!
I love how in the One Piece video, I barely had any trouble with the outfits, and it was all posing, and now everything has completely reversed. I spent weeks, literal weeks on these designs, and starting us off was by far the easiest. I knew I wanted Aphmau to seem different from most others in Teyvat, so I had a little bit of leeway before getting into the stricter design tropes of the other regions and characters. I drew up a first draft that I hated, and then I drew up a second draft that I also hated, and then
I really like this one though. Okay, so let me just make sure I understand this correctly, because the way the design looks is that this looks like a design of someone who's wearing the garb of Irene, which means she's probably accepted the mantle at this point in the story. What I think would be really, really cool is if you do not want to give you extra work, but in my head I would imagine a story of where she's reluctant to accept the mantle. And you said she escapes, right, in the night, right? So she wouldn't wear this garb because she wouldn't wear this in the beginning of the story because it would be too outward. It would draw too much attention to her, right? It'd be too, I don't know, maybe you can give her like she can transform into this outfit when she activates her true powers maybe eventually in the story. Sure. But I think for her, I would say, okay, she probably, if she left after being part of the Knights of Favonius, that's probably not going to look good. I would assume in order to keep a low profile, she would wear something more civilian, right? But this feels like I am the storm that is approaching kind of energy right now. I am like, you pray to me right now, like that kind of energy.
I drew up a third draft that I
get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
Okay.
So I did a bunch of sketches and picked my favorite from the bunch. Keeping her color palette to only a couple colors was pretty important to me since too many colors would make her design look weird when her element changes. It's the whole reason.
Yeah, I think like if her element does change, you probably want certain aspects of her design to change colors, everything else be the same. Like maybe some of these gemstones or these images here. I really like this design right here. I really like this in the middle here. Like on her tummy. This is a really great design. I'm not Is that a feather? Okay, that's a feather. Right. Okay, let's see what else is she about to say.
The actual Traveler's colors are limited to white, black, and gold. I knew her main color had to be purple since that's literally her whole brand at this point. Keeping her design mainly white, purple, black, and gold with a touch of red as an accent was the palette I ended up sticking to, while trying to make sure it was light enough to not clash with the other elemental colors. I made my first draft and sent it off to Solus and Mochi for review, and this is what Solus gave me back.
Let's see, energy here too. Energy here too. Can harness elemental energy like the game. Okay. Wait, what did she change? What did your friend change? Huh, I don't see what... Okay, there's like a little bit extra here. There's feather here. Oh, I do like this. More Favonius-esque. You know what? For me, it's just randomly for me. I feel like you can get away with a little bit more white. But then on the inside of like whatever this is, it could be purple. Because this feels more like Inazuma. But then again, I say that, but then Lisa has a lot of purple on her too. Actually, it does work. You know, and I'll tell you why. Because if there would be a place that would give you the most freedom in what you wear as a representative of a region, it would be Mondstadt, the city of, you know, in the city of freedom, right? So forget all. It does feel a little bit like the Raiden Shoguns a little bit. I will say that, especially with the gold accents. But if there was a place where she could do that and it wouldn't cause any issues or draw too much attention, it would be in Mondstadt, right?
If you couldn't tell, Solus is really good at this. So, after a couple of adjustments based off of Solus's notes, this is Aphmau's final design. Let's start on the
I really like
splash
it a lot.
So, yeah. Now you can see why this video took so long to finish.
She's right. She has rapiers? Huh. Why don't she have Aaron's sword? I'm gonna stop.
The most prominent part of most Genshin designs are the gold accents that appear on nearly every character and the patterns that make up the clothing. I wanted to make Aphmau's design a representation of a lot of the in-game Mondstadters
really
just to
cute.
pay homage to them in some way. The red accent in her design is not just because of how significant Erin's bandana is to her, and of course I had to add it, but also that the gems that Irene has in her design are red, and I thought that would give a nice little accent to things. She's also got these little gems on her shoes, in the ornaments on her cape,
really
and
cute.
on the large star-shaped panel on her skirt that align with whatever element she's resonating with, just like the actual Traveler. Stars were a huge part of the design for her, as I wanted to give her something that made her feel set apart.
You should have put like a potato symbol on her somewhere. I feel like you had an opportunity and you botched it, but it's okay.
From the rest without being super obvious. I also made the executive decision to not give her a classic Mondstadter vision, but one shaped like Irene's symbol in lore.
Makes sense.
Although it doesn't really matter since you can't really see it in the final splash, so it's fine. Anyway, there is so much more I could say about her design and the lore surrounding her story, but this is turning out to be much longer than I originally thought it was, so we gotta move on.
I really do like it. Kind of wish she was looking at me though, but that's like very like I'm nitpicking. I really do like this. Straight up. It's gorgeous. All right, I'm down with this. Next. I'm down with this design. She's pretty. Aaron. Uh-oh.
It's time we go off track
Aaron 100% has a claymore, right? Is he fire element?
a bit from the order I drew these in since, I don't know, consistency's sake. Whatever, it's time for Aaron. Aaron's style and nation were a breeze to figure out since it was practically handed to me while I was brainstorming for this video. I decided to give Aaron a pyro vision and make him from the Nation of War, Natlan. Now, I mentioned Natlanese characters briefly in Aphmau's segment, so let me quickly explain for those not in the know. All of Natlan's archons have been given, and the role of Archon is more like a government official rather than a god like the other Archons seem to be. As for my lore and the fact that I've made each of the Divine Warriors take on the Archon roles, I've decided to make Aaron the acting Pyro Archon in this AU. Aaron's life before becoming the Pyro Archon isn't something I think would be well known to Natlan before the Archon quest, but would be gradually revealed as Aphmau continues on her journey.
Oh, I love the ears, this is cute. Kind of reminds me of Goro a little bit.
One thing I will mention is that Aaron's lore won't be like Mavlika's, what with the prophecy and 500-year sleep sort of thing. He loves the people of Natlan and is a relatively fresh pick for Archon, so he's a bit awkward when it comes to making genuine connections with his citizens without, freaking them out or something. I did give him a vision, even though I know when he gets handed the Gnosis, he gets imbued with the power of the Sacred Flame, but I still believe he'd hang on to it for sentimental reasons.
Yeah, Archons don't need it. Yeah.
Let's take a look at his design. I made him an animal hybrid since his werewolf genes are pretty integral to his character in my street.
Okay.
I based him off of an African wolf dog, which I believe Kachina is also based on, but editor Keki can fact check me on that. In the end, everyone said his extremities looked like Gordon.
She looks at the Pika mouse. Well, we know what that mouse was used as a reference for, don't we?
Which wasn't really what I was going for, but it's okay, I
Whoa!
guess. I also made his gold boot covers kind of look like
you
paws
made
just to drive home the
more muscular in this
His
one.
general design came pretty easy, actually, besides a few tweaks, and it was the same for the colors. His color palette that I stuck with was red, orange, yellow, teal, and different shades of brown. Teal was something I saw a bunch in my research, and I think it really does add a much-needed accent color between all the reds and browns. There were some troubles with saturation and where each color should be distributed, but nothing major, like the other pains in my patella that we'll get to later. I wanted to add a couple design details from his actual Minecraft design, so I gave him his family's crest tattooed on his side, as well as some more ink on his neck.
Okay, before we continue, there is one thing I have a problem with about the Pyro Archon's design in Genshin. I get that she is not as much playing on the whole I'm a god part, right? I like Malwika's design, okay? I do. But not as an Archon. You know what I mean? That skin tight black motorcycle aesthetic in a world where it's like there's no roads. She's the only one that seems to have a motorcycle. You know what I mean? It feels a little off. It feels a little off when she has that motorcycle and literally no one else has them. You know what I mean? It'd be different if people had more of those items, more of those vehicles throughout Natlan, and she was like the queen of the road as part of her lore or something like that. Like she was like really good at races. She loved to race or something like that. Something to add to that. Even though that would take away from like the countries that they were basing Natlan off of, to be honest with you. I don't care, because if that was the case, they shouldn't have given her that skin tight black outfit anyway. Now, Keki did say Eren in this story is relatively new as the Pyro Archon. So the fact that he still wear his normal clothes makes sense, since it doesn't sound like he's fully embraced that role, which is great if you're making a story for this, because then he would resonate with Aphmau, who's also hesitant to fully accept the Irene role, right? So they will connect on that level.
Cheek and forearm. It's actually a huge shame that you can't see the arm tattoo in the final splash, since I think it turned out so good, but it is what it is. This is the price I pay for
Claymore,
drawing
right?
Dynamically, I guess. The Natlan patterns actually came very easily as well. Honestly, Eren was a breeze, now that I think about it. Maybe it's just because Natlan is fresh in my mind since it was my first launch day nation, but it's anyone's guess at this point. The patterns for Natlan are very geometrical, so adding these...
I like that. I like the design on the eye.
Shape,
I like that tattoo.
Square spirals.
That was a nice touch.
Whatever they are, they're everywhere in Natlan, so on to Eren they go.
You gave
the last
Eren
thing
some
I'll mention
highlights.
Before moving on is that I gave him red streaks in his hair to add more intrigue to his head, and to everyone saying that he looked like Shadow the Hedgehog, haha, you're funny.
I wasn't thinking that, but now that you said it, okay, and I'm just kidding. I literally was not thinking of that. Who told you Shadow the Hedgehog? All right, they're capping, they messing with you. Don't fall for it.
Moving on.
Okay, I like it. So far, these designs hitting. I remember when I was looking at the other videos, I was like, I don't know. Like, occasionally, I was like that, but this one is like just straight up like boom, boom. So far, so good. Caitlyn.
I'll admit Caitlin's story
ice, right?
isn't one I've thought through super thoroughly, but I still do love the direction I took with her. I had her hail from Sumeru and gave her a Hydrovision. I know I haven't really been explaining why I've been choosing the visions I've been choosing, so now's a good time to start. In Genshin, a Hydro Vision is granted to those who are dedicated to a cause or have strong desire to help others, often embodying outward commitment and responsibility. They can also be given to people who either have strong morals or values that make them want to help people.
Okay.
I felt Hydro suited Caitlyn well, not just because it's blue and she's blue, but because in a lot of Aphmau projects that feature Caitlyn in them, Diaries or My Street specifically, her morals and strong dedication to the people she loves and the things she stands for is what stands out to me the most.
Dude, look how extravagant
Although I
this
said
outfit
she's
is.
from Sumeru, that's technically not true. Her country of origin is Fontaine, but I had her
knew it.
localized to Sumeru by the time Aphmau meets her in
I
the
like
story.
that. I like that little
Caitlyn's
touch.
original job in Fontaine was in the Maison Gardiennage in the Maréchaussée Phantom, or the investigative branch of the task force.
Really?
I'd like to think that many of her missions on the task force are finding certain criminals that cross the border
look
out
at
of Fontaine
this.
and escorting them back into the nation to face justice. As for why she's staying in Sumeru, I think she was stationed in Sumeru for a job involving the academia for a really long time and came to love the nation as time went on. She would then
Is
officially
Dante also from
relocate to
Sumeru?
Sumeru City and move in with Lucinda, who we'll talk about later. As for what Caitlyn
Okay.
does for work now, she's most likely an
makes sense Lucinda's
investigative
there.
eremite for hire, mostly taking jobs
It
directly
makes sense
from the
that Lucinda
academia to
is
root
from
out
Sumeru.
corruption without raising
Perfect
too
sense.
much suspicion. Caitlyn's original concept sketches were more on the Forest Ranger side with a mix of Fontanian influences.
Okay.
I originally wanted to mesh her love for both nations together in her fashion, but that proved easier said than done. She has
Yeah.
some of the same attributes to Forest Rangers in the game, as well as the folded collars and ties from Fontaine. Her first sketch was super plain, and showing it to Mochi and Solus just confirmed my observations. So, with that draft out in the world, I decided to drop the Fontaine inspo entirely and lean towards her job as an eremite with more reds, tans, and browns. I wanted to give her something practical adjacent,
So
since
she's
I
fully-
am so aware practicality.
So in this story, Caitlyn's fully integrated herself into Sumeru society, right? Like, I would imagine she does have fond memories of Fontaine, but probably with the addition of with Lucinda's help, she's probably fully integrated into their society. She feels like she's just one of them now, right? So, yeah.
Is an afterthought when it comes to Genshin designs, opting for a bodysuit with a sash skirt pinned
Now,
up.
what you could do, if you want to give her an influence, something on herself that's an influence from Fontaine, it would be based on her weapon, right? Now, I'm thinking in this regard, what's the lightning character that has the sword and the gun? I forget her name from Fontaine. A gun on Caitlyn would be all you would need, right? She would still hold on to that, right? As a keepsake, or at least on her side. Maybe she still has another weapon, like a sword or something like that. But she would have the gun on a holster or something like that. So that's the only thing you would absolutely need to do to really just show, oh, look, she has a gun from her time from Fontaine, and everything else is just fully, I am a Sumeru person now. You know what I mean? That's all you would have to do, I think.
Up so she can still move around. Yes, I know.
Looks so good?
She
Yeah,
is
man.
very exposed, and honestly, that seems to be a thing for desert characters in the actual game, so
Yeah, I mean, they're in the heat, right? And the way you have her pose, it looks like she's very active athletically. So she would want something that's free to move around in.
we're adhering to canon for this one, y'all. I also gave her that sparse
Not that
kind of
exposed,
eremite
though.
armor the NPCs in the desert have with a few tweaks, and added a kind of scarf cape to bring back her signature color and balance out the warmer tones on her design. Her final colors ended up reminding me a little bit of Inefa, but maybe that's just because she's red, blue,
Oh
and
my
gold.
God, you're right, dude. You did just anephify her. That's crazy. Was that an accident? I actually really like it a lot. Okay, water, huh?
As well. I don't know. Whatever it is, she's cute, so I'm okay with it.
Another Hydro character. I'm telling you, these designs are kind of hitting right now, guys. Travis is definitely Dendro, right?
Travis was the character that had the most open-ended brainstorming session when it came to figuring out where he'd be from and what his vision would be. I had 3 different elements written down for him and had just
this
placed
Leela?
him in Inazuma for reasons I can't really remember right now. At the time, I felt I had crowded too many characters into
Ooh.
Inazuma, so I ended up switching him to Leeway, and that's when the ideas started flowing.
Yeah.
Placing him in
Because he could be like, if you really want to, you can make him one of the, what are those things called? The Adepti. You can make him an Adepti if you wanted to.
Liyue gave me a bunch of excuses to dip into his demon warlock heritage, and I ended up sticking him in the Adeptus category. While designing his first draft, I breached the idea of him becoming a Xiao stand-in for this AU, and thus his animo vision was cemented. I also got a response from Travis's actual voice actor, who gave some interesting insight on why he believes Travis's element should be animo, which I will read for you now. Travis, in my personal opinion from his story progression, would be animo. Animo characters usually stem from a sense of freedom, with the chance of losing something in return. With Season 6 in MCD, he was free from bloodlines that tied him to something he didn't want to be, the price coming at the cost of his parents' lives, who gave him that freedom. Honestly, he's totally spot on, and I really love that for him, so that's what I shall have for his explanation. I think his personality would be similar to Zhao's in-game due to the circumstances of his background.
Really? Let me think. Okay, I can see a little bit of Xiao in him, but I kind of still want to keep that frolicky, free, flirty side from him as well. I do like that, because I want to keep that dynamic when he's speaking with Caitlyn especially.
Say Travis was born to parents with low traces of Adeptus power in them after many generations of human and Adeptus intermarriage. Travis's family was particularly susceptible to the influence of fallen gods and often ended up possessed by beings who wished harm to others. Travis's family would live in seclusion because of that, self-sufficient and isolated from the people they could potentially hurt. From an early age, Travis would be possessed multiple times by corrupted beings, but would be able to appease and calm the spirits until they were ready to move on. It wasn't until a god his father had sealed away broke free from its binding, attacking his family and gravely injuring himself, Travis, and his mother, that Travis found his pacification wouldn't work on this creature. Travis's father would seal the entity inside Travis before passing on with his wife in order to not let the god take control of his body, and Travis would spend the rest of his days protecting Liyue from these falling deities by either—
So you're taking Zhao's karmic debt, and you're paralleling that with the demon warlock, aka Michael's influence on Travis's bloodline. Okay, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Exercising them or sealing them inside himself like a prison. This main deity would be the Genshin version of the demon warlock and would be the primary force that causes Travis to never trust himself to be near human civilization in fear of losing control like his father did. At least, that's what I have brainstormed for him. His first design draft was something I really liked. I wanted to keep that wanderer aesthetic like Kazuha and Scaramouche have in the actual game, so the loose fabrics and scarves were a must. Mochi and Solus liked the first draft as well, but by the time I was drawing Travis, we were already quite far into drawing characters at this point, and Mochi brought up a good point that most of the designs I had been churning out at this point had been very bottom heavy and needed some intrigue on top. So I drew a couple points from Scaramouche as well as Chongyun's design, and the second pass came to fruition. After a couple changes like mirroring the torso, he was all set for color. Keeping Travis's green was a must for me. I didn't want to take too much from Zhao, and honestly, even if I was planning on doing that, his colors would not be something I would want to copy. To put it simply, it's chaotic, but lore significant, so it works for him. Anyway, I had Travis in a lot of dark green and white to kind of symbolize a kind of yin-yang with the entity.
He should have the book. He should have the book from MCD, which would make him a catalyst user. You know what I mean, guys? That's what I would think. He should be a catalyst user.
Sealed inside him and his actual personality. I also gave him a bunch of jade hanging off his design, not just because jade is prominent in Chenyu Vale, where I specifically wanted Travis to be living in, but also symbolizes virtues like benevolence, wisdom, and purity, and also has been associated with royalty, power, and the connection between heaven and earth in traditional Chinese culture. Having the jade he wears be sort of like talismans or keys for the seal that's on his body seemed like a really cool idea, and it made his design way cooler.
I like it. I'm down. He's definitely a catalyst user because of that book from MCD. Kawaii-chan!
Kawaii-chan is a character I hold very near.
Inazuma, alright. She's Inazuma. I don't know what element. Inazuma, 100%.
And dear to my heart, so I knew I had to do her justice. Making her from Inazuma was a no-brainer since in canon she's Asian American, and her vision was kind of easy as well. There are a bunch of different ways people in the Genshin community explain cryovisions and how characters obtain them, a few of them being that the vision is given to those who are at a crossroads in their lives, are torn between responsibilities and desires, or are hiding something, whether intentional or not. There's also the theory that the element is often associated with overcoming sadness, loneliness, or another version of what I just mentioned, inner conflict. Nana, in canon, is one conflicted and lonely lady. We hear about her youth in Season 5 as Zane and her bond, that her family was quite large. She felt as though she wasn't able to stand out next to her brothers and sisters who were talented and unique, so she ended up putting on the persona of Kawaii-chan to seem cuter to those around her in order to become her own person, separate from just being one of the many kids or siblings in her family. It wasn't until Season 5 did we actually get to know anything about Casey and her family, so I thought Cryo was the best element for her in that regard. As for her lore in Genshin, I feel like it's stayed mostly the same since there aren't too many conflicting factors in her My Street storyline. I am changing what she does for work though, since the only jobs we see her have on screen are her IHOP job with Michi, her job at the maid cafe in town, and her job at the maid cafe that Aphmau and her co-own in Season 3. I figured I'd give her a job as a baker or sweets maker since baking was one of her strong traits in My Street. I'd like to think she tried almost every place in Inazuma in search of a job, even trying to be a shrine maiden at some point, but ultimately deciding to take a risk on opening her own shop once she tried everything else. During the start of the Sakoku degree, which I still believe would happen in this AU, Casey would join the effort to protect those who had visions and would offer her shop as a sort of secret refuge in the same way Yoimiya's shop is in the actual game. Her design was kind of difficult, since most Inazuma designs for the ladies have, almost nothing going on leg-wise, so balancing out her clothing so that it looked Genshin canon accurate was hard to iron out at first. I had based more of her first concept on Mizuki's design with a few elements from Kirara's design as well, but nothing was really sticking
I was sensing some Kirara's in that one.
I went through multiple drafts of her outfits, trying to make her unique and not just a recolored existing Genshin character until I finally found one I liked. I knew her palette had to be pink, but picking secondary colors to help drive home her feeling as a cryo character was proving pretty difficult, actually. I went back and forth between teals, purples, and magenta until I made her kimono this light blue, and I loved it too much not to keep it.
I would have really... The problem with my idea is that the decree, the vision hunt situation that was happening in Inazuma. But I really would have liked it if her vision actually was like it helped her in her work as a baker / tea, tea or cafe, merchant or owner, right? So she could sell like iced tea instead. Maybe she could have a boba tea shop, I guess. But the problem is the vision hunt decree. She wouldn't be allowed to use her powers, right? That's really the main issue. Anyways, I really like what you did here with the nails here on the hands. For some reason, that particular part must be the line weight. Really feels very good to me. And there's this flowing element to this action pose here. There's this flowing design to it that reminds me of Mizuki. Right? If there was a different element, I don't know what it would. I don't know if it would it be ice? I don't have to think about that one. I don't know if it would be ice, but I don't have any better ideas. Is this the cat from Alternates? Please let me be the cat from Alternates.
Then came the long process of switching colors and trying to place them in the right spots to make everything visually come together, and oh my gosh, I would rather get run over by a Ferrari going 70 miles an hour than ever do that again. Color is never my strong suit, as you can probably guess by now.
I love your lineup,
especially when characters have pre-existing palettes to follow, and this was a great lesson in how much I have to work on my color theory. I liked the idea of a cherry blossom kimono, just because they're pink and adorable, but my feedback was saying that she doesn't read Cryo enough with the flower motif. So
yeah, that was the issue I was having. Like, Cryo doesn't seem like it fits. Plus, I would feel like if you take away the Vision Hunt Decree element of it in the story, I would have liked it if her her use of the elements would play into her being able to operate either her bakery or her shop or something like that. So probably pyro. I would say pyro, right? I think pyro would be a good place. But then that might interfere with, like, because I don't know if you're doing like a Xiangling variant in your version too, because then that probably would overlap too much with her, with that kind of fit too. Actually, you know what? No, because she could be the Inazuma Xiangling kind of idea of variant here. So I think she would fit more into. I think her aesthetic. She could still have the same color variant. Because there's a lot of characters in the game. Not every character in the game has, like, they're obviously, like, their clothes obviously tell you what their element is, although it kind of does for a few of them. I would say she probably is pyro. I would say she's probably pyro. Something says pyro because of just her occupation and her, you know, her desire to help people, whether it's through service or through protecting them through the Vision Hunter career. I think that would be good. I think that'd be a good overlap there. Okay, let's keep it going.
In light of that, I decided to come up with a lore excuse, so I could keep my pretty pink Sakura kimono because I wanted it. I think Casey bought that kimono when she got her first paycheck from her bakery as a way to kind of represent her wanting to bloom into her life.
There is a
like
kimono shop that you
winter.
can visit constantly.
She still got snowflakes printed all over her outfit, and honestly, I think I cooked with this one.
No, I have no issue with the design. I just think Element Pyro is probably better for her, right? I think Element-wise, Pyro is probably what I would go for. Yep, that's just me. Ice? Not so much. Zane.
Zane was one of the earlier designs I drew after Aphmau, and was part of the easier designs to iron out. Zane is kinda like Caitlyn in the way that they both moved from one nation to another and tried to naturalize into the culture. I've placed the entire Rome family in Mondstadt, with Garth being the only brother who stayed, but we'll get into him later. Zane's vision is Animo, and I feel like his desires to be free from social pressures would push him in that direction, but also Animo vision holders usually wish for a freedom that they have sort of already achieved in a way. The main example is Jean and the Knights of Favonius, and Hasia with being a detective. Animo vision holders also hold a deep connection to the concept of freedom, often earned by individuals who have experienced profound loss or grief. It's basically the same things that I explained for Travis. They've also found a way to move past it or to achieve their goals and ambitions despite their emotional burdens. Animo vision holders often demonstrate unusual dedication to a specific cause or duty, seeking to break free from the constraints of the past or to help others find their own freedom. So I feel that when he finally arrives in Inazuma and experiences his freedom that he's wanted for so long, he'd be leaving behind his harsh attitude and strive to be better for his community.
Oh, really? So this is after his character, after he's... Okay. Because I would have suspected that he would, at this point in the story when you meet him, he's still a very ambitious guy, right? Like a government official. Maybe he gets himself into the government somehow. I that's what I would personally think. So I don't know. But I guess we're not gonna make him as antagonistic in this point in the story.
Himself a vision. Oh right, yeah. I placed him in Inazuma. Because of course I did. I also feel like the entire reason he wanted to leave Mondstadt was most likely because of how everyone in his family was being way overprotective towards him, and his growth eventually leads to a reconciliation with his siblings in his personal story quest. As for his occupation, I decided to take a page out of the Aphmau SMP videos and make Zane an alchemist. His work would revolve around not just the casual alchemy we see in the actual game of Genshin, but also discovering more about the function of the art of Kimia, the main way ancient people of Conria used to perform alchemy in their underground environment.
You know what? He would be interested if I go with my super ambitious, kind of antagonistic element to what I thought he would be in this version of the AU. He would 100% be delving into any information involving the art of Chemia and Conria.
Zane's colors were kind of a problem since at the time I drew him, I can't say I was entirely in the zone design-wise and birthed this monstrosity from my brain using Xiao as my animo color inspiration.
I have a question about this mask you have on him, right? Because, like, ninjas exist in this game. You know what I mean? You could have just given him something like that over his face. You know what I mean? So especially since you have, like, the hair covering over here. I don't know if I like this cap part. Actually, I do, but I don't think he would wear that all the time. You know what I mean? Like, he would put that on for certain scenarios or situations. Like a whole ass mask when he's trying to be covert or something. You know? I don't know. I keep on going back to this more antagonistic, super, more of his villain side for this. You know what I mean? Not that he's a full-on villain, but maybe he does have ambitions and he's willing to be a little ruthless to get the job done.
Oh, we've already kind of gone over why Xiao's colors only work on him in Travis's section, so I'm gonna skip that for now. I had some sort of a hang-up with him keeping his primary My Street palette of black and gray, since none of that felt very animo to me. But this new color palette didn't feel very Zane to me either, so in the end, I decided his main colors would be gold, blue, teal, and black to keep his palette clean and simple. I also notably gave him half of a kitsune mask in place of his black face mask that he normally has on. I feel like in trying to naturalize with the locals, he would constantly go to help out at the shrine and matters concerning the community, and was gifted the mask from the maidens there. I think his role during the Sakoku degree would be more direct than Casey's is. I'd like to say he'd be using his alchemy to help the army in protecting the rights of the vision holders of Inazuma. And also, yes, it would not be a Keki AU if Zana wasn't involved in some way, so—
Hold on a second, guys. Yeah, I don't know if he seems too helpful for me. If this is just me, but if I was making crafting an AU that involves Zane, he would definitely be in support of the Vision Hunt decree. Even if he has any ulterior motives, I'm not sure yet if he has any ulterior motives or not. But I feel like maybe he would think this is the right thing to do, and he really believes that he's helping people by doing that. But he would totally be in support of the Vision Hunt decree at the very beginning. I think so. Maybe that will be the opportunity for him to change his mind after interacting with Kawaii-chan for a while, who's also an Inazuma. You see what I'm saying? Anyways.
So, that exists. Interpret however you want.
I do like the color palette. I do like it. Gareth from Mondstadt.
If there is Zane, then Gareth is sure to follow. I already mentioned how the
100%.
Romaves are based in Mondstadt in this AU, and Gareth was the only brother who stayed, so let's dive into that now. I felt it too perfect to not make him part of the Knights of Favonius due to his Diaries counterpart, so from the first draft
I'm seeing some Varka influences. Okay, what you doing?
of his design to the final, nothing really changed too drastically. The idea I had for Gareth's lore is that the Romaves are the founders of the Knights Order and have passed the role of Grand Master to the eldest child throughout the generations. Now that Garte had retired, the role was passed down to Gareth, who was probably a little stressed out after being handed so much responsibility that he never really wanted. His brothers would eventually set out on their own to avoid his paranoia until Gareth was all alone as Grand Master. I mentioned how Aphmau was a knight in her section before the church found out she was a vessel for Irene, but before that I believe she was Gareth's second in command for a while before she left for her travels. Aphmau's sudden departure would probably take quite a toll on Gareth, causing him to shut himself into the Knight's headquarters and only come out when a crisis would befall Mondstadt. I think that after a while of taking care of internal affairs, he'd take a piece out of Aphmau's book to take missions that specifically needed travel so that—
The reason why that interaction is important for Gareth and Aphmau in this case is because it kind of answers the question of what is, because you have in most situations, if you are a part of of the military in a city or country, wherever, and you essentially leave, like abandon your duties, even if it, for whatever reason, it's usually looked down upon, and many countries or many places would look for you to, because you would deserve punishment in their eyes, right? Like according to their laws or whatever. Mondstadt isn't like that, right? Mondstadt is more free flowing in how it obviously on how it treats its laws and everything like that. And Garth will probably still uphold that. But that doesn't mean there wouldn't be people who deserve that Aphmau betrayed them. They should go bring her back, and she should still serve some type of punishment. Garth would be the one to prevent them from doing that, right? Which is why Aphmau would be able, if we look at her design, to wear that and not worry about someone looking for her to try to bring her back. Because normally, if you abandon your post, people coming after you, right?
He could clear his head. I do want to clear up that Garth doesn't hate his job. He just does it because it was passed to him in trust that he could do it well. So he continues to stick to it even if it's not what he wants to do.
I love these colors.
And that's why I gave him a Geo vision. Holders of this vision type are those who are determined, hardworking, and possess strong willpower, embodying stability and perseverance. These individuals are often defined by their enduring nature and their commitment to a long-term goal or mission.
Are you going to give him a knight's helmet? Oh, you could. Oh, I mean, you want to sell his face, I guess, but you could give him a knight's helmet similar to what's the guy from the Fatui, one of the Harbingers. I forget his name, because in the beginning of My Street, I mean not My Street, MCD, he did have a helmet, and then obviously later he removes it and stuff like that. But I kind of would think that would be cool.
Which they pursue with unshakable resolve and are validated by their vision. So. It's
I like
perfect.
That sketch
I
at the
stated
top,
earlier
though.
that all drafts I had for Garth were knightly, but finding out who to base him on to get that Genshin feel was tricky, since guess what character got released the moment I started drawing him?
Farka.
Yep. Barca.
Yep. It was
That
so
is
obvious.
literally just Garth.
It's just...
I'll admit, I was a little discouraged when I saw just how similar Varka was to my Garth design I had planned for this AU, even though I have been waiting to see what Varka looks like for ages now, but there wasn't really anything I could do here. The only saving grace was that Varka's element is Animo and not Geo, but it still doesn't help that they're both tall, blonde, Claymore users who are Grandmasters of the Knights of Favonius.
Okay.
You know what? I am probably the only one who has an issue with this, so whatever. Whatever. I don't care. Do you care? I don't. Perfect.
I mean, I'll care if you want me to.
Blue, brown, white, and yellow were the colors I ended up choosing for him. The first pass of his design was pretty simple, mostly based off the actual adventurers NPCs from the guild, but then he looked too NPC-ish.
Wait, did you give him the Favonius? Oh, you gave him the Favonius sword. That's so perfect. Thank you.
Not enough Grandmaster-ish, you know? Second try was basing him on Kaya, and only Kaya can pull that off, so we finally end up with something more formal. I made sure he had some formal armor just so he can be ready at all times, and gave him a little puffball with some feathers to represent the dandelions in Mondstadt and the wings of freedom. Cheesy and corny? Yes. I know. Whatever. I don't care.
Okay. I don't know how I feel about the pants, though. I don't know how I feel about the pants, but I guess it kind of reminds me of Jean's pants a little. Well, we'll call them pants for now, but everything else is great to me. I like it just fine. Oh, hold on a second. I like this design here too. For some reason, I look at him and I feel like he should have like a lion's motif on him. I don't know why. Like maybe on the cape or something. I don't know why I'm thinking that. But maybe it's just all the gold and yellow colors I'm seeing here, and Garth's. To me, Garth would fit well with a lion motif. I just say it that way. Lawrence.
Alrighty, we are moving far from Mondstadt to Fontaine for Lawrence.
Okay.
His initial design concepts gave me a tad bit of trouble since I wasn't really sure what his story would be in this AU. His first pass was based on a sort of Risley aesthetic mixed in with the steampunk attributes that Fontaine is known for, and surprise, surprise, I hated it. I knew I wanted something sleeker for him, while at the same time not making his silhouette too basic. The only inspiration that would come to mind while researching was Arlecchino and her fitted design, and that's when I had a thought.
I wonder if the Mermaid Tails variant of Lawrence would have been a great inspiration for you.
Same type of elegance would lend nicely to a fashion designer aesthetic, and thus this truly yassified version of Lawrence was born. I incorporated those fancy type of antique scissors into his aesthetic to flare up his design even more, and I'm actually so in love with it. I also notably gave him this draped coat, kind of like Grizzly's, but a little bit more exaggerated because it's fabulous. As for his lore in this AU, I honestly hadn't thought too much about it like I have for everyone else's. I knew I wanted to give him a Hydro Vision since his personal sense of justice is his most prominent feature.
Oh, you have like 3 Hydro characters right now, though. Are you for real? Thing is, you don't want to give him Geo because you don't want to go. There's already like a fashion. I forget her name, but the fashion designer in Fontaine is Geo as well. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what you would give him. I think he would be a physical type, though. I think he would rely on physical damage. But yeah, what kind of Hydro? I don't know about that.
Diaries. So having said that, let's just say Lawrence was an orphan for as long as he could remember. Running along the streets of Fontaine, searching for jobs that would help him support himself was a common thing for him until he would be caught up in an altercation with some older kids, until an older man stepped up to save him. The man would offer Lawrence refuge at his tailoring shop downtown, and after seeing how interested little Lawrence was in the trade, he would offer him an apprenticeship. After working under the old man for many years, Lawrence would see the kindness and joy he would spread to people, not just through his actions, but through his craft, becoming Lawrence's pseudo-father figure. But happiness never really lasts forever, especially not in a city with uncontrollable night crime. Lawrence and the other shop owners would find the promenade sacked and desolate, some shop owners injured or even worse, and unfortunately the old man was not so lucky. The perpetrators were never found, at least publicly, and I believe that after Lawrence took over the shop, he swore to be just like the old man who brought joy to everyone while working tirelessly to make sure the criminals who killed him were brought to justice. I like where you're going with this, because
I was just thinking that I would love to see him with like some type of scissors as a weapon. And you gave him half a scissors as basically like a claymore design. I would spend gems for this weapon.
Moving away from depressing lore for right now, let's talk color. Lawrence's pre-established color palette is mostly green with a few light blues and sometimes orange. And honestly, that doesn't really match the whole Hydro vibe, believe it or not. I tried a bunch of color combos trying to make the green work, but let's just say we were very unsuccessful.
I like that expression.
It wasn't until I ran these by my family when they suggested a sort of tropical sea vibe for the colors, kind of like the waters that are that pretty teal green to blue gradient, and it all started to work out. I'll admit, I did still try to make the green work after that, but ultimately made the coat brown, which unexpectedly leaned more detective, which was pretty much perfect for his storyline. Not to mention, the brown goes wonderfully with his hair, so it all works out in the end. Last thing I added was his little golden spectacles and his sword, which was modeled after fancy antique scissors. Now I know someone is eventually going to be like, wow, scissor swords, so creative.
No, it works, they can shut up.
To which I will remind you that this exists in the game. So
don't make fun of that. Okay, you're right, but still, like,
I don't think it matters all that much.
But like, yeah, like, come on, it was clearly put in there as a joke, though. That doesn't count. You can't use it. Doesn't count. Can't do that.
If my Bennett can equip a fish, I think Lawrence can equip half of a scissor. Okay.
That's a low blow. Okay. You're fishing for excuses there. I'm sorry. Lucinda, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna try and keep my cool for this one, but pardon my outburst if I am unable to.
You better make her hot.
Lucinda. Good old Lucinda. I briefly mentioned her in Caitlin's lore segment, so let's go over that before I talk about my inevitable crash out. I based Lucinda in Sumeru for a couple of reasons. Mainly because her canon job of maestry of witchcraft is very motivated by self-study and knowledge in one's field of specialty. That is also one of the main reasons I gave her a Dendrovision as well. Lucinda has been shown to be very dedicated to the work she does, constantly learning new spells and furthering her study in magic, so I placed her in the academia in this AU, and had her study of focus be on elemental mastery and theory. What I have for Lucinda's story is that her goal was to research the specific field in relation to the tomb of King Deshret, since she was born and grew up in the desert. Her interest in her studies would increase when she went to the academy, eventually graduating and getting offered a research sponsorship to become a scribe for the academia. She'd likely spend most of her time inside the actual building of the academia, researching and experimenting with elemental reactions and the history of the Archon.
It sounds like you made her like the Al-Haytham in that regard, because he's like super studious, right? I could see that.
And that's kind of it. Her backstory and character didn't feel like it needed too much explanation for some reason, so keeping it simple felt like the best direction for her. Now, something that wasn't so simple was her design. I feel like every single time I end up designing an AU with Lucinda in it, I always find a way to pull my hair out by the end of it.
Why?
So, her initial design was interesting. I can't remember exactly what I based it on, but that doesn't really matter since I barely kept anything of that original design. It was kind of a shame since I did like it, but Mochi and Solus had a point when they mentioned she looked too NPC-ish, and yeah, so back to the drawing board. They both actually ended up suggesting an academia look before they even knew her lore, which I did think was funny, saying that basing her off Lisa's Sumeru skin might be the vibe I'm looking for.
You know what? That's a great suggestion. That's a great suggestion. You should pay them for that. They should get a raise.
But I felt like they were too similar in character, and I really didn't want to feel like I was just copying Lisa since they're both sultry witch-type characters with some form of purple on them or in their color palette that have ties to the academia. So, essentially, Garth's problem, even though I drew Lucinda before Garth, but whatever. In the end, it wasn't me who came up with Lucinda's final design. It was actually Mochi who helped finish her off, and I could not be more grateful that she allowed me to use her design for this AU. Thank you. The only thing I wasn't a super big fan of her design was the color palette. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot going on.
But,
there's a lot going on.
Let's try something else.
Hey, it's not that bad.
Oh!
Anyway, now that I knew what I didn't...
You spent time in After Effects just for that. That's crazy. That's crazy.
It was time to sort out the colors I did want, and thus began my worst nightmare. I tried a bunch of color palettes, wanting to keep her colors of red, dark purple, black, and white, while also adding some green in there to complement the academia, but also her Dendrovision as well. And it was bad. Like, really bad. For quite a long while, actually.
This actually might be one of my favorite designs.
Multiple days on just her colors and got so frustrated that for the first time during this project, I made an Instagram poll to see what the people liked better. An Instagram poll!
I didn't even see that.
I have over 20 color drafts in my Dropbox folder right now, and staring at them just brings me back to that moment when I was just blankly looking at my canvas at midnight, trying to convince myself that she doesn't look like Daphne from Scooby-Doo.
Stop it. Stop playing. No, she freaking doesn't, bro. What do you mean? All right, so I like the design a lot. My only concern is in the academia, don't they have more of a standardized uniform that you have to wear for the most part? I might be wrong about that. Maybe they don't care because she's like a high. Maybe she doesn't care what they say. Maybe that's just what it is. That could be a thing. I could totally see that. And they probably don't care either because she's so talented. But that's my only concern. I just trying to remember if that's how it was there or not. It's been a long time since I've been in Sumeru.
But that wasn't helping at all. In the end, she got a pretty sunset-inspired palette that paired with the green, yellow, and gold. Although it really does not help that she is one of my favorite completed designs from this batch, so torturing myself over this design was apparently worth it.
That's a really good design. It does give me some of that desert aesthetic. What was the name of that character that when we were in Sumeru that we hung out with a lot? The female character that we thought... I know I wanted her to be... it's been a long time since I played Genshin. But there was a character in Sumeru, in the desert, that we hung out with a lot. That she kind of looked like an NPC, sort of, but she ended up, for me, I really liked her character, and I wish she was playable. I forget her name. Someone can tell me out with that, please. Kind of gives me that vibe. Kimmy Kim.
We are finally at the last character for today's video, and that...
I'm downvoting your video. I might be the only one doing it. I'm downvoting your video. Where's Rise? How dare you? See, this is the thing. Like, I feel bad a little bit because that means you're going to have to make a second one. And you probably are considering it or are already working on it. And I feel so bad saying this, but you got to make a second one. Where's Rise? Where is it? You knew I was going to watch this video. You knew I was going to watch this video. By the way, don't ask me for ideas. My only suggestion for you for Rise is surprise me. And don't make him Chongyun. Don't make him Chongyun, then. Those are my only two things. Surprise me. Do not make him Chongyun. Anyways, let's keep going.
Is Kim, who had some pretty last-minute changes. Kim is another migrator, originally being from Mondstadt and relocating to Liyue.
Okay.
I did start to realize that a lot of these characters had animo visions, and Kim was, no exception to that, but I did feel like it suited her the best, so I don't really care.
I'm surprised you have
I
no
liked the
lightning
first draft
characters.
of Kim's design, but even
No
though
Electros.
I, and everyone else I showed it to, liked it, it didn't feel Genshin canon enough for me.
If just to go back to Zane real quick, if the story for Zane was more on the antagonistic side, lightning, Electro would have been the element for me. But since you didn't do that, you chose wind. I think you did. Which is funny because I believe Scaramouche was also similar. He used an Electro delusion, I believe. But then when he changed to the Wanderer, he was Animo.
Ladies in Genshin aren't usually keen on wearing pants unless they are Arlecchino, or I guess you could count Mavwika as well, even though it's technically a bodysuit.
I
anyway,
like that outfit.
I made another design
Great.
that was more
I already
based
like
off
it.
of Zhongling, and it continued to evolve.
I had a feeling you would pick a Zhongling. It was either. I didn't think it was gonna be Kim. I thought maybe Kawaii-chan would get some of the Zhongling treatment because Zhongling is the one known for like wanting to cook things and make ingredients, and you said that Kawaii-chan was the one of her talents you wanted to focus on was the fact that she bakes, so she would have like a bakery of sorts. So that's where I thought some of that influence was gonna go to. Let's see what she does with the rest of Kim here.
From there, we eventually landed on this design, and I started the colors, but spoiler alert, she doesn't stay like that.
Uh-oh.
While we're waiting for that to happen, let's go over the lore I have for her. I'd like to think that Kim was a Mondstadter who was very afraid to do anything. Her parents had lost their lives.
Oh my god, hold on a second. I hope she says she got influence from Sucrose. Because that would be the perfect, I think that'd be the perfect influence for her. Right? Especially since Kim in the beginning of My Street was more timid, was a lot more timid, in the beginning. Right? And Sucrose gives you that vibe as well. Like that bookworm, that timid bookworm feel. So I wouldn't mind her being in Mondstadt or wherever. Like Liyue, sure. I'll take that. From Mondstadt to Liyue. But you definitely could have went with the Sucrose vibe here.
Doing the adventurer's lifestyle and had left Kim to live with her aunt and uncle. She did love the idea of freedom, but whenever it came to actually acting on it, she could never bring herself to go through with it.
Yeah.
She longed for a day where she could travel without fear and put her passions to use, specifically to be a perfumer. Now, I know that may seem a bit out of left field for Kim, but I felt that since we aren't really aware of what Kim's passions are in My Street, I figured I'd take inspiration from the Aphmau SMP videos where Kim is seen being closely associated with potions and sorcery.
Yeah, I like that. So you could have had her at the, oh my god. You could have her in a similar role to Baiju, if that's the case. That would probably fit her better. Potions and perfume is probably more of a Lucinda thing, don't you think? That's my personal opinion.
I feel as though Kim felt she could never really fit in during her time in Mondstadt, even working at the Angel's Share in an attempt to grow closer to the people in town. Unbeknownst to her, a lot of people really loved her, and when she finally decided to bite the bullet and relocate to Liyue Harbor, a bunch of the regulars at the tavern threw her a party to celebrate her departure.
Okay.
With her newly found freedom, she was granted her Animo vision, and she began working in Liyue Harbor.
Again with Animo? Stop! Another Animo user? So you are a big fan of Hydro and Animo. That's okay.
Ever since. I talked briefly about Kim's design.
Let me guess, your first 5-star was Jean.
Earlier and how it wouldn't stay the same for long. Well, now's that time. Something about her design felt wrong, and distributing colors on her was more difficult than I wanted it to be. So, to avoid another Lucinda situation, Mochi, again, came to my rescue and thought up an edited draft and color study for me. There were some things I didn't like as much, so with much tweaking and of course permission from Mochi, we landed on a final design that all three of us liked, and thus began the coloring. I wanted to focus on the classic cloud patterns that Liyue tends to incorporate from their historical Chinese reference sources. Her colors finally found a home with dark and light teals, white, yellow, and small orange accents, and finally, we are done with all 10 of the Aphmau Genshin AU characters.
I love the design. I don't agree as much with the vision, and I think we could have added some elements of sucrose in this design. A little bit. Like, or not in the design, but in the story. Right? I know this is a video about the artwork, but you're giving a story as well to kind of like explain why you went certain ways. I think the design is basically perfect. I just feel like you're gonna have too many Animo and Hydro users if you were to do more of the cast. You know what I mean? Like another 10 people. You didn't do any lightning, so there'll probably be some people in there. I think Zane will probably be lightning, dude. I think Zane will probably be lightning, even if he isn't evil or antagonistic. I feel like he would be lightning. Kim. And if that was done, then Kim can stay Animo, because especially, me not wanting her to be Animo is not, kind of conflicts with the fact that I felt like she should have a little bit of a sucrose identity. But if we had taken off another Animo character, a Vision, and give it to her, I think it would fit more of that. Yeah, and she would also be a catalyst user for sure. Same thing with Lucinda. Okay. I like this. Very, very nice. Huh? Yeah?
Let's go gambling!
What? What are we doing? You pulling for your characters? That's cute. Okay. Okay. Ooh, I didn't see that before. Oh, you got the Fire Wolf in the background? That's OD. Okay. All right. Hey, what are these? What is this about? I kind of like it. I just don't know why it's there. I like that. Huh. Let me go back real quick. Let me go back to the beginning. I'm gonna name the weapons they're probably using. If it's not visibly available, of course. So obviously she's a sword user. Erin's a claymore. Now this one's interesting. She could also be a sword, but I would still like her if we were to mechanically incorporate her into Genshin to have a gun as well. So she could either be a sword with a gun or a catalyst user, but the catalyst is in the form of a gun when you're talking about how you play her, right? Like in terms of like what I'm saying is like I can see her having the gun as like her skill, but she fights with her fists, right? So she would be a catalyst user, but that fights with her fists, kind of like Heizo, but she would have another skill or ability that will allow her to incorporate a gun or something to talk about, because I'm focusing on the fact that she has a gun only because of her time in Fontaine, so she still uses that or has that. Anyways, that's what I think. I don't know about. Oh, that's cool. I like this. This is really nice. He would have a spear. I know it's like Zhao. I know it's like Zhao. You have a spear or you would have a catalyst as well. I keep on thinking about the Demon Warlock book that they had in earlier seasons of MCD. So I'm thinking catalyst or a spear. Kawaii-chan! I don't know what she would have here. Maybe a bow? Would she have a bow here? I think she would have a bow here. I wasn't thinking of Ganyu, by the way, when I was thinking of that. But if I remember correctly, Kawaii-chan's child in MCD, Nekoet, was learning the bow, right? She was learning the bow. So if she, in the future, has a child, let's say with Zane or with someone else, or Dante, like in MCD, then it would make sense that the child would learn that from her. Right? So I could see her being a cryo bow user. Especially since you did take some inspiration from Yoimiya, right? In terms of for her role as in Inazuma during the Vision Hunt decree. Zane. Okay. Zane would probably be a sword. I think Zane would be a sword for sure. Huh. What if his sword had like a type of poison mechanic attached to it because of his alchemic background? Maybe that's what I would. Yeah, I could see that being a thing. Claymore, of course. Garth, we got the Favonius weapon right there. Interesting you chose this as the crumbling wall of Mondstadt for his background here. Interesting. I thought it would be something more solid, like maybe the family emblem in the background or something like that. Okay. He's a shield of like he's known as the shield of Mondstadt. Lawrence being Hydro. I love this. This looks fabulous as hell. This perfectly encapsulates the energy he wants to portray to get people to like buy his clothes, right? I love this. I like this a lot. Obviously, he's a sword user. Lucinda, Catalyst, 100%. Yeah, Catalyst for sure. Dendro Catalyst. And then Kim. Damn, I just said Kim would probably have a spear or a catalyst. Bro, I can't believe I just was having issues with the fact there's a lot of Animo and Hydro users, more than I would expected. But I've almost pretty much, I gave like half the people catalysts. That's funny. Anyways, probably catalyst user because, you know, I'll have to explain it. I think it's pretty good for her to have it.
So, would I recommend you do this?
No.
No, not really, unless you're a psychopath like I am. This entire video was another learning experience, just like how my One Piece Genshin video was, and this one had me pulling out infinitely more of my hair than the former. Okay. Anyway, blah blah blah.
You did great.
I did it.
I liked it.
For learning and whatever you guys get.
To be honest with you, most of my questions about your direction was strictly story. That was really all it was. So I'm down. This is great.
If you want to see me do this again with other characters on my list that I had for this video, well, too bad. You'll have to wait another year for me to even consider toying with
What you mean? What you mean a year? You want to go to jail? Where's Rise? Don't make me downvote this video. I won't do it this time. I really wanted to, though. But I won't. Don't push your luck.
Considering the idea again. Unless I get a Genshin sponsorship. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna go draw my OCs because I deserve it. Bye!
Awesome video, guys. That was very... Oh, we got the One Piece characters here. Okay, cool. That was a great video, guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the bell for notifications on both channels, so YouTube and Twitch Senpai can finally notice us. We need more Rise, dang it. And that's all I gotta say. Take care of yourself, and as always, stay jammin'. Rise. Thanks so much for watching the video. This was streamed live on YouTube and Twitch. See you there. And as always, stay jammin'.